Hello, I'm Coach Darren Slack for Ask NFA. We want to thank everyone for the great response we got from last week's Ask NFA podcast. Let's keep it going by having you send in more excellent questions like we have this week. Our first question comes from a coach asking us how to evaluate a close quarterback competition. This is a great question and one that is totally dependent on the situation in the particular program, and it's due to a number of factors involved in the decision. Now, personally, I went through 2 quarterback competitions as a player, one in high school and one in college, to determine who would be the season starter. Fortunately, I did enough in both cases to win the job, but looking back, neither one was a sure thing. And what I do appreciate about both situations is that it was done in a reasonably open and fair manner. As a coach, I believe that regardless of what methods are used, it's critical that integrity be central to the process. Say what's going to happen, how the decision will be made, and who's going to make it. No favors are done for either quarterback to leave them in the dark wondering. Even if it's a gut call by the head coach, they still prefer it to never knowing or being held in some sort of limbo. A quarterback competition can be a very good thing for a program, but if the coaches don't manage it well, it can backfire. Here's a few suggestions and thoughts for you to consider for your program. First, before starting a competition, or what others call a controversy, let's explore a few questions. Does either quarterback play another position that can help the team equally as well? Does it make more sense to have both players on the field at the same time by moving one for the sake of the team? Here's another one. What is the age of the 2 players in question? Seniority can matter, as well as building behind a younger player for the future. See, that's a head coach philosophy decision that needs to be played into this process. What are the goals of the offense in this program? Some want to run more, some like to pass more. Does one fit better than the other at this time? And can that decision be made before we go down a protracted road of indecision about the starter? Do we want a quarterback competition in the program? See, the QB coach needs to meet with the OC and head coach to determine if they even want a competition or if they want to avoid it by selecting a starter outright. Sometimes a younger player can have skill, but their current confidence or size makes it unreasonable for them to start, and to position them behind an older, more experienced player to bring them along more slowly would make more sense than creating a controversy. Is there really a competition? Coaches need to identify what actually makes this a quarterback competition. They need to confirm the skill differences that make the starter a legitimate question mark at this point. They should be specific about the strengths and weaknesses of each quarterback to confirm the difficulty of the decision. And then they should frame out the details and length of the competition. At this point, it should also be clearly stated what each QB needs to demonstrate to separate themselves from the other. This clarity will help the coaches feel better about the decision in the end. Finally, there needs to be a fallback plan for 2 platooning if neither quarterback separates themselves in fall camp. How will a 2 QB system work during games? Things like that. Now here's a few practical steps to take if the competition does go forward. Step 1, communicate clearly with both quarterbacks together what the competition will look like and how and when specifically the determination of the starter will be made. Also, they should be told generally what will happen during games if there's no clear-cut winner, such as who will play when and how long and how they'll be used. Usually, a competition centers around complementary skills. One can run better than the other, or one can throw better. In that case, it's necessary to explain how the QBs will be used and when. If it's 2 similarly skilled players, then you need to share the criteria being used to decide. Is it seniority? Which stats will be employed? Is it points scored, first downs acquired, team chemistry, or a combination of all that? Step 2, the quarterback coach should meet with the quarterback separately to discuss their strengths that make them a candidate and their weaknesses that make them a question mark. Get feedback from the quarterback about how they feel about the competition and its clarity and its fairness. This will help you go a long way in building morale in both players. These meetings should continue every week or every few days as time is an issue and allow for communication and questions. You may not have a final answer, and they need to know that it's the OC's call, the head coach's call, but the QBs will enjoy being heard and the coach will be able to measure morale much better in the players doing it that way. Step 3, if the competition is really close and a decision cannot be reached easily, the coaching staff should meet with key offensive players and maybe the team captains to discuss their opinion of the impact of the competition on the team. They need to know that the decision will rest with the coaches and the head coach ultimately, and they need to support that decision either way. But their feedback being important to the process will help them as well. It should be clear that nothing is to be repeated to the quarterbacks or other players. However, they should know that all discussions are open. meaning that they shouldn't say anything so personal in the meeting that we couldn't say it to the quarterback's face. This will help that if something does come out, it would only be what they believe is true and can stand by. Now, step 4, the often forgotten step. Once the decision is made, there should be an understanding of how long the coaches will remain with the starter if he's failing in games, or whether the competition will re-engage during the season. Not always the case for QB1 to do well, so we got to have a plan for that. I've often found the clear-cut winner is the one who takes care of the ball, avoids turnovers, and the one the players respect and respond to best in the huddle. It's the one that moves the chains and the one that can put the offense in the end zone more consistently. Regardless, I wish you the best of luck in your season, Coach, and thanks for your great question. Now here's a few questions from some quarterbacks. Coach, how far should I lead my receiver on slants? The simple answer is not more than a receiver's arm's length reach in front, but more specifically, it's about locating the ball and how the receiver is defended in man or zone. In a man situation, the receiver will likely be fighting to get inside the defensive back, who will be attempting to cut him off and force him toward the line of scrimmage. In that case, we want to throw the ball directly at the receiver, sort of like in the baseball strike zone between the nipples and the knees, away from the defender's pressure. In zone, with the receiver breaking into open space, optimally we prefer to locate the vertical center of the target hallway on the downfield shoulder, or the one that's farthest from the quarterback, and throw the ball that can be caught with the receiver's thumbs down between the nipples and the nose, so he can accelerate upfield after the catch. If the receiver's in a crowd in zone, throw the ball lower and away from the most obvious pressure defender. There are a few critical mechanical disciplines for the slant throw. One is stepping to throw where the receiver will be, not where he is. We need to accelerate the elbow through explosively to the target hallway while keeping the front shoulder from opening too soon. Also, in a crowded area, the QB wants to keep the ball down. So my final thought on this point is the answer to a second question asked by a quarterback. Are there throws I need to pull down or throw low? So some slants and route throws need to be kept low or away from defenders. To execute those types of throws, the QB should not pull down on the throw, but rather work to lower their front shoulder and extend their release toward the receiver with the ball in their hand longer, or until it passes the elbow. They want to reach for the receiver. If the QB tries to pull down, he'll drive the football right into the ground or throw it too high by letting go too soon. Extension of the arm at the elbow while holding the ball longer will bring the release point lower while sustaining catchable trajectory. Very, very important. The good rule of thumb is to take the throw as low as you can, but extend long enough to keep the nose up as it flies to that lower spot. This will encourage the necessary arm extension to keep the ball flying while trying to get it lower. A good reminder is to reach for the target. In other words, reach your ball hand for the low spot on the receiver that you want to hit. Our final set of questions comes from some parents. How can I get my son recruited to play college football? This came on a post from Facebook. There are a lot of factors involved in getting a player recruited, but here's a few important steps to take. Number 1, develop your son's overall athleticism and nutrition program through proven performance training persons. It's very important you find the right person to help develop your son. Next, you want to make sure to develop their skills from proven skills development organizations. Finally, network to find a recruiting person who can assist you in establishing a schedule and process for promoting your athlete at the level that makes sense for his skills and size. But won't my coaches do all this for me? Well, depending on where you live and how your program's set up, some rules don't permit coaches to invest the time necessary to fully develop the skills for their position as they would like. So a solid program supporting supplement training program with proven coaches is an excellent alternative. This can create issues with the local school coaches if they aren't supportive of outside input. So the parent must carefully share the expectations of the school coach with the outside coach to ensure a minimum of conflict during organized team activities. You just got to be careful how you communicate. Keep in mind that showcase competition events, while fun and encouraging, do not compare to the importance of attending collegiate coach evaluation events offered throughout the country in the spring and summer, when the athlete's old enough to attend. From one-day assessments to 3-day camps, you can find the information on college websites and have your son make his presence known to college coaches. Relationship is key to recruiting today, and coaches want the opportunity to see your son's skills on film and his size at camp before making any serious steps toward recruiting. If they like what they see at camp, believe me, they'll let you know it. It's not actually the high school coach's job to get your son recruited. That's on your son's play and your investment to facilitate what's necessary to make him ready. We need to educate ourselves on what your coach will do for your son and be ready to go the extra mile resource-wise to expand his marketability and reach into the collegiate consideration. Varsity game film is crucial to the recruiting process, as well as your son's playmaking ability on that film, especially versus difficult opponents. Make sure to put your best plays up front and keep the highlight film simple. Coaches want to see the production quality of your son, not the video. The recruiting process can be a real challenge for parent and player alike. I would just encourage you to seek out resources to help you wherever you can. Finally, your son's not being recruited when he receives a letter promoting a camp. That means he's on a list. It's when the phone rings or a text comes in and there's a coach on the other end that congratulations, you're being recruited. Good luck with all that. What is the best way to approach my son's coach about playing time is another question that comes to us from Facebook. Playing time is exclusively the coach's decision, so there's never a time a parent should have that conversation with a coach. Your son should have that conversation alone with the coach. To discuss playing time with a parent would be like the coach wanting to have one of his own players call your boss at work and discuss how much you're being paid. It's none of their business. And playing time is team business, not parental business. As a parent, the only time you're right to engage a coach in a meeting is when your son is placed in a situation that is either potentially dangerous or confusing his ability to compete. In that case, you would only attend a meeting after the one already had by your son and the coach directly, and there were issues that were still not resolved. Even then, at that subsequent meeting, you're only there to listen to the interaction. Keep your opinions to a minimum and confirm that your son's grievance is spoken. Once the coach shares his decisions clearly, everyone will be on the same page, and the parent steps back into the stands and the son follows up alone. There's no place for parental influence of any kind regarding playing time in a program. Our last question is, my son is having trouble getting a tight spiral. His ball's wobbly. Is it a grip issue? Ball flight is largely an issue of three things: the grip, release point, and kinesthetic timing, or the feel of it coming off the hand. The grip position should support a smooth finger roll off the ball with the nose slightly elevated at release. If the ball is pushed too deep into the palm, the nose will start down, encouraging a slashing release of the ball to make it spin, thus putting accuracy in question. You want to find the slot and the stitch in the grip. The slot is where the pinky goes into the laces to ensure the ball doesn't get into the hand more than it should on the finger side of the ball. This allows the thumb to come down the ball to form the palm pocket necessary to get the nose up in the hand slightly. The index finger up to the first knuckle line should be on the stitch line of the ball to allow the longer middle finger to come off the ball at the same time. If the ball is wobbly, it's normally the wrist firing before it passes the elbow headed out to the target, or simply put, the wrist fires early. This premature snap of the wrist doesn't allow the force of the body to be generated properly as the arm accelerates forward, thus leaving the wrist to try and add power, which it doesn't have the ability to do because it's a joint. By delaying the wrist snap longer, the power increases, the ball spiral improves because the angle of the wrist improves, and the accuracy gets better because the target outcome is geometrically improved with every inch the ball is taken closer before release. In the end, it's about kinesthetic timing, or the feel of letting the ball go at just the right moment to provide maximum rotation or spiral, velocity, and accuracy at the same time. It takes some work, but a good rule of thumb is to extend past the elbow while trying to keep the ball nose up slightly. This reaching for the target at release more will greatly improve everything about the throw, especially the spiral. I do hope these answers were helpful for you. Let's keep questions rolling in, and we at NFA will do all we can to help you. Good luck to all of NFA Nation in your games wherever you are this week. And remember, at NFA, we make you better, faster.